Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where an actual statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and this college basketball episode covers select games scheduled to be played on Monday, December 12th, 2022. In case you're new here, check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new for a primer, what we're about here, show goals, and community rules. As always, remember there are no locks in gambling. So what Sideline provides are loves, likes, and leans. It is A, B, and C grades. Indicate its confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. We're only covering a subset of today's games in this episode. So for the full slate of picks, check out the Google Sheet linked in the show description or on the website homepage. But as always, take what you like and leave the rest. If you have questions about these or other games, the best place to get those answers in our Discord chat, which can be accessed through Patreon, link in the show in the ticker below. Lastly, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as we'd like to say we'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Cousin Jared, 2 of the last 3 weeks, we've been profitable on show. The other week did not go well. I think just Saturday just killed us. 2 other weeks, slight profits. I think you've been doing your part, so.
Yeah. Of course, we've changed up the format and there is no more getting high with the cousin and how low can you go. And I feel like that is a personal attack on me as I'm the only person that like to play totals. And so I will still find a way, no matter what format we may have on this show, to get totals into this thing.
It's a testament to I tinker with things and want to change them all the time. So rest assured, viewer, things will always be changing. But partially because I want things to get better. I always want to make things better. I always want to find what's working. I always want to improve. Especially in gambling, right? If you rest on your laurels, you're going to get caught, right? So you always got to innovate. You always got to improve. Yep. We still have a total of the day segment, so we're still kind of bringing totals back a little bit. Kind of flirt with them. We got 13 games on this Monday. So we had a hard time talking before show, trying to figure out what the heck we were going to do with the set of games. I gave out a bunch of totals on Discord on Sunday. I gave out 10 totals. They went 9-1.
Yeah. I mean, nothing else to say to that. It was very impressive.
And here's the thing, though. Of the 13 games, there's one total that I like at this point. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it here on the show. But, I mean, some days are like that. Some days are like where you look at the totals and you're just like, here's what it is. It's, good edges. And then some days you look at it and you just go, these are priced pretty well. We'll see what kind of movement happens, with the totals. Maybe there's some value to be had later on. But right now, it's just an interesting slate of games today with these 13. But before we get to that, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you are on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. And if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. And again, I've already mentioned that Patreon, but check it out if you haven't yet. Lots of great benefits to be found there above and beyond what we do here. Membership starts at just $3 per month, gets you all of the plays of the day. $5 a month gets you access to that Discord, giving out some extra picks over there. $10 a month gets your picks right when I lock them, so you can get them before the number moves. You can get that access earlier on. $15 a month gets you the early projection, so you can get them right off of opening. And cousin Jared, I know that's what you love to do. I feel like you're just waiting for those lines to come out. You got those early projections,
Yeah, and actually got a win today. We're recording this on Sunday night. Got a win today. I got Coppin State at plus 9.5 right when it opened. You grabbed it at 8.5. Eventually went down to 7, and they lost by 9. And so I won and you lost, unfortunately. So yeah, getting those lines right at open are always valuable.
That's the best testament I can give to that, right? Is just the constant. No, the number doesn't move towards the model all the time, but it does more times than not. So there's lots of good value to get there. So again, the best testimony to it is just the fact that you see the numbers moving the way the model's going and the early access that's valuable. So check that out on Patreon. Even if you're not over there, though, we're thrilled to have you here. Let's get to the show. All lines courtesy of BetOnline. Sign up link in the show description. Current at the time of this recording on Sunday night. The A+ play of the day, because in Jared, there are 8 of the 13 games are A grades, according to the model. That's quite a ratio, quite a percentage. You and I have one that we both just love, though. We're going to count this on both of our records. We're each going to go in on this one. 6 p.m. Central, Yale is laying 5.5 points at Fairfield. Total of 125.5. Sideline says this should be 8.7 The model has underestimated Yale this year. They've really overperformed even what the model has said. The model has backed Yale 8 times this year, has gone 6-2 in backing them, has won the one game it faded them. They won for it as an A-grade play against Kentucky over the weekend. Obviously, Fairfield's a little bit easier competition than Kentucky. But again, the model being 7-2 in games involving Yale has hit Fairfield pretty much dead on with regards to its projections. This feels like a 10-point win for Yale. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Yale has 2 losses this season by 10 points, one to Kentucky, one to Butler, and they have a short 3-point loss to Colorado. Other than that, they have handled business and have more than a few double-digit wins on their resume when they play substandard competition, which is, I think, kind of what Fairfield is. When you go look at who Fairfield has played this season, I mean, they've beaten the Husk of St. Peter's. They beat Towson, which is a decent win, but they got throttled by Xavier. They lost New Hampshire by a lot. They lost by double digits to Wake Forest. Fairfield just hasn't played many teams of the caliber that Yale is, and in the games that they have played good teams, they have had double-digit losses. So to me, this is just one of those things that Yale is just in a slightly different class than what Fairfield is right now, and only having to lay 5.5 points seems like a bargain.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fascinating race in the Ivy between Yale and Princeton. Obviously, Penn and Cornell, Harvard, not bad either. But the top 2 teams there, if this plays out like we think it will with Yale and Princeton, whoever hopefully one of those teams makes it into the tournament will be a very dangerous 14 seed. I mean, that, as you saw against Kentucky, can hang in there. Which is always what you're looking for, right? We love getting those 14 seeds, 15 seeds, 13 seeds that can hang in those games and make them exciting. And Yale's one of those teams. I think they're pretty good.
It's funny what we learn, watching and kind of absorbing college basketball, because you just listed all the good teams in the Ivy League, and I can just tell you that Columbia won't be on that list. That's what I know about the Ivy League.
100% Columbia not on that list. Well, that'll take us to the best B side. I'm going to give you this one here. There's a couple of B grade plays. I rewrote up on the website, so if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure to do that. The pickswiththeprofessor.com/new, kind of a better worded way of what I recommend. The A plays are just great. I just recommend them unless you just really don't like them. The B plays are more just a little bit of a nudge. Hey, if you like it, I'm with you there, but it's not a play. The B grades on their entirety aren't plays that I just recommend all of them. It's just one of those, hey, if you like it, go for it. If not, don't, right? Of all the B plays today, there's not very many of them, but one that caught my eye, almost got to an A grade, is Stony Brook. I'm going to play them on the money line at plus 114 here. Sideline says this is basically a pick'em type game. Sacred Heart's the better team, but they're on the road. It's not like it's the longest, craziest travel home court or anything like that. I'm not giving Stony Brook very much. But this is just one of those, the road team's slightly better. I mean, anything can happen in this game. Plus odds makes a lot of sense. If you've been with us on the plays of the day, the plus odds plays of the day have been just kicking tail and taking names. Yeah. And one of the main strategies you've been using on that is this right here, is give me plus odds in a game where the home team is not that much worse than the road team. And who the heck knows what's going to happen? We're going to go 500 or so on them. And at these plus odds, it's going to be profitable. So that's kind of the strategy I'm using here. So it's only a B grade in the model. But it's one thing you should have your eye on with Stony Brook. If you get decent plus odds, or if that number leaks out to the 2.5 or 3, that's where I would really get behind it more. So at +2, it's only a B grade according to the model. But again, I like Stony Brook plus 114. So I'm going to put that one on my slate for today. I feel like this is where you talk about Stony Brook, cousin Jared.
Sure. They are a team that plays basketball, and they got a B grade.
We always like to talk about the small schools because that's where there's sometimes value to be had, but sometimes you don't see a lot of them. It's hard to really talk about some of those, right? So we're going to talk about some other ones later on the show where it's like, hey, we've seen these teams. We can talk about them. We know a little about them. We know what conference they're in. We know what state they're located in, right? Some of these smaller schools, it's like, I don't really know much about these teams.
Literally, like your brain can only process so much with college basketball teams, with all the teams. Like college football, you can stretch yourself and you can know most of the teams pretty well. College basketball, you can stretch yourself all you want. You're not going to know all of them.
Three times as many teams At least I think we do a pretty good job with college football. Like, there's a few that kind of we miss a few things, but I feel like we know most of college football pretty well, especially by the middle end of the season. But college basketball, it's like you said, it's just impossible. That'll take us to the professor on a limb here. A C grade play that I think is worth a look. The model doesn't see an edge here, but I've seen enough of this Texas team to know that the model's going to have a really hard time with them in the same regard that the college football model sometimes has a hard time when the teams at the top are just way better than everybody else. We didn't see it as much this year. Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, some of those teams they weren't quite as dominant as teams in years past. But in years past, last year's Georgia team, many Alabama teams, we've seen in the college football model, it struggle with how to handle them because it can't rate them too high because they're not that much better than the teams around them. But when they play weaker competition, they could just blow the doors off them. So it creates a tougher modeling situation. And that's what I think about this Texas team. We had an A grade play against them on Saturday, grabbing points. And that looked like an easy winner for most of the game. And then all of a sudden, Texas just turned it on and won that game by 40. And I think that's the type of thing that we're going to see more times than not always from Texas, but more times than not, in that the model's not going to back them a lot. It's going to say it's too many points, but when they run away from teams, they can just absolutely run away. So I think looking at Texas and laying the points there, as long as it doesn't get too far out of hand, sideline says it should be 26.5. I'm laying 28. I don't really want to lay more than 30, but at 28, I just think there's a decent chance Rice hangs around in this game, just like a lot of teams do against Texas. And then all of a sudden there's this massive run. Texas has so much depth. The B string on Texas is better than the A string on Rice. And they can just come at them for 40 full minutes. There's going to be some stretch that Texas goes on a 20-4 run. And all of a sudden it takes it from a 15-point game to a 32-point game. And I think they can get outside this number of 28.
But is that exactly what happened against like Arkansas Pine Bluff this past weekend?
It's exactly what happened. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure my memory wasn't failing me. Again, because I don't know every team, but I do know a lot of teams.
Yeah. And Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Rice are not that different, in that regard. And we've seen it multiple times, not just that one where we faded Texas. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's just a situation where I think Texas is more of those, we trust the model, use the model in tighter ball games, but against these bad teams, I think we just lay the big number as long as it doesn't get too far away from the model prediction and just say, we're not going to win them all, but we're going to win 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, something like that, and it'll be worth our while. So I'm going to lay the 20 there with Texas. I'll take us to the total of the day. The one total that I talked about, if I were to give one out, this is the one I would give it out. Cousin Jared, I'm going to let you have this with 8 p.m. Central, Northern Illinois at Gonzaga. Gonzaga's laying 30 points. We've talked a lot about Gonzaga's issues this year. Turning the ball over, not as good as they were in the past. Washington covered barely on Friday against them because of a last second wide open dunk that they didn't care to defend. So we got the lucky cover there with Washington. Total, this one's 150.5. Sideline says it should be about 158. So why also do you think that we should be on the over in this one?
Well, what I would say is number one is Gonzaga hasn't scored more than 80 points in like 3 games. And so if they go 4, that might be a record for the past few years with them because that is very abnormal. So having a team like Northern Illinois coming into town, I think it's a great opportunity to fix that. And let's talk about our Northern Illinois Huskies for a minute because they have an issue, and that issue is defense. They're not very good at it. The first game of the season,
the added issue is they play at a fast pace, which makes that even worse.
Yes, it compounds that issue. So they gave up 83 points to Illinois at Springfield. Whenever you're giving up 80-something points to teams that have "at" in their name, that is not good. I was like
Illinois, that's not bad. Oh, Illinois
Illinois at Springfield. They also gave up 73 points to Purdue University Northwest. And they gave up 88 to Sam Houston. They gave up 83 to Northern Iowa, 70 to Eastern Illinois, who was always a solid under team. Yeah,
Eastern Illinois is a team that is pretty comfortable putting up 46 points.
Yeah, and they gave up 70 to them, and they gave up their last game they played. They gave up 84 points to Idaho. And so Idaho has been a team that Sideline has been on quite a few times this season, but scoring 84 points is not something that Idaho normally does. So the combination of Northern Illinois' not good defense. You mentioned the tempo at which they like to play. Unfortunately, that's going to play right into Gonzaga's hands. They want to go up and down the court as fast as you possibly want to go. I think Gonzaga is going to get to about 90 in this game. So I think over 150 and a half, I think this game will blow past that.
Because Jared, I hate to break it to you, but the model has underestimated the total for both of these teams.
Oh, wow.
And it projects Gonzaga to score 95 and a half. So I think we got a good chance to see 100 here. And a score in the 90s for Gonzaga is what we're expecting, according to the model. Considering the pace that both teams play at Gonzaga's amazing offense and Northern Illinois' just absolutely terrible defense, Gonzaga should be able to name their score in this one.
Yep.
All right, so you're going to go over 150 and a half for an official pick from you, which takes us to the must-see TV game of the day. Really only one to talk about in this one. It should be a good one. Out in the desert, Creighton versus Arizona State. Creighton is a 3.5-point favorite. We're going to grab the 3.5 with Arizona State. It's an A-grade play on them. The model's been pretty accurate with Creighton. Underestimated Arizona State. Arizona State 7-3 against the spread this year. Creighton's covered a lot too, but this is a game that should be a fantastic tight contest, and getting 3.5 makes a lot of sense. Because Jared, what is my official pick? My official pick. I'm taking Arizona State plus 3.5. What's your take on this game?
My take on this game is that Sideline would say that there is quite a large edge on the under here. So Sideline only makes the total for this one 135.8. The books right now have the total about 140. So you would say that this is a place where you want to look at the under. I have been burned by Creighton one too many times this season playing their unders. They like to get up and down the court. Sideline seems to have, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're just like super efficient and Sideline can't grab onto that. But Creighton has had more than a few games this season where Sideline has said the total should be mid 130s, low 140s, something like that. And the game gets to upper 140s or 150s or something like that. So I've been bit too many times. There is some point where I would go in at the under on this game. Is it 142? That's the number that first comes to my mind. If it got there, I think I would just play the under out of principle, just because that is just a absolutely huge edge. And, if somebody's up by 11 points late in the game, nobody has an incentive to score. There's not going to be any fouling or whatever. You may have some team take a shot clock violation because they're trying not to run up the score. So if it got high enough, I think I'd take the under, but 140 is not the place where I would go at the under for right now.
Creighton did not look very good against BYU the other night. I think Arizona State's a better team than BYU. Total, definitely some interesting thoughts there. Safe play, in my opinion. Take either plus odds with Arizona State or grab the field goal and the hook. Never a bad idea when you can do that. Which takes us to overtime, the game right after that. So hopefully it won't be too late for us to keep tabs on 10:30 Central. New Mexico laying 3 versus San Francisco. Total in this one 153. So we're expecting some fireworks here. And Sideline says this should be New Mexico minus 4.1 and gives New Mexico an A grade, hanging on at minus 3. 3.5 is definitely borderline. Once it gets to 4, it would drop it to a B grade. But the model has backed New Mexico 7 of 8 times, and New Mexico has still exceeded the model's expectations. 6-1 backing New Mexico, 1-0 the one time that we have faded them. Been pretty spot on with San Francisco. Cousin Jared, why do you like New Mexico minus 3?
I like New Mexico. Well, number one, I always like it when Sideline tells me to back a really good team. You'll remember last week when I was on the show, I laid the 28.5 or 29 points, whatever it was, with Houston there and got an easy winner. So I just like it when Sideline tells me that I should back good teams. Yeah. I think New Mexico's really good. The thing with San Francisco is San Francisco can get up and down this court and score some points. They're a pretty good offense. Ironically enough, the only 2 losses they had this season were when you look at their schedule, like clearly the 2 best offensive teams that they've played in Davidson and Utah State. Davidson put up 89 on them. Utah State put up 82. Utah State under the radar, undefeated, and putting up a ton of points. They're an exciting team to watch. Just a little aside there. Anyway, San Francisco, they've had issues when they've played high-scoring teams, and New Mexico qualifies as a good high-scoring team, and I think this is going to be the exact same thing. When you the total, you see it there on the screen there, 153, 3.5 points in a game where you expect this many points. I think New Mexico is quite a bit better than San Francisco, 4.5. I know what sideline says, but I think you could make this line a little bit higher, and I would still be willing to lay the points with New Mexico. I think they may score close to 85 or 90 points in this game, and it may not end up being that close. I think New Mexico is just a very good team, and San Francisco, when they've played teams like this season, just have not fared well.
Yeah, Southern projects 80 to 76, but I'm like you. If it went over that, it wouldn't shock me. You've got two fairly fast teams, two very average defenses. San Francisco, good offense. New Mexico, great offense. I mean, there's going to be a lot of points in this one. And like you said, if San Francisco's going to struggle with teams that can score, New Mexico is that team. And what San Francisco kind of can do to you is take you out of your comfortable game plan by speeding you up a little bit. Not going to be a problem for New Mexico. That's the exact type of game they want to play. Yep. And so at that point, when it's strength on strength, take the better team, and that's New Mexico here laying a relatively short number. My overtime pick for you people, 6 p.m. Central, an under-the-radar game, South Alabama minus 8.5 at Alabama A&M. Not very much home court advantage here for a team that's probably not going to attract a ton of fans here for a Monday night game. Short travel spot for South Alabama. Bottom line for me on this game is that the model's been pretty accurate on both of these teams and predicts that South Alabama on average wins by about 10.5. We got a good 2 points of value here. And here's the kicker. Sideline is 6-0 backing South Alabama, 1-0 fading them, 3-1 backing Alabama A&M, 2-0 fading them. That makes for a combined 12-1 on these teams backing and fading. It's not really biased overall. It's just doing a really good job with both of these teams. I think South Alabama goes and wins by double digits, so I love laying the 8.5 in an under the radar game here for you in Alabama, which wraps us up. Cousin Jared, any parting words for the people on their Monday watching of college basketball?
It's starting to feel like college basketball season. College football season is kind of wrapped up, going into the bowl games. Now some holidays, you're going to have a lot of time, hopefully to watch college basketball. I know some people are just now getting to watch the games. It really feels like the season's kind of clicking and moving along here. So that's always a good feeling. Before you know it, we'll have a lot of conference games. There'll be a lot of big games to talk about. So hopefully you got a little ramp up period here over the holidays. And then once January hits, it's full on college basketball season.
We're like over a quarter of the way through the college basketball season already.
I thought that time was going to slow down after college football ended, but I guess that's not the case.
It doesn't. It never does. And then once college basketball ends, it's baseball season, right? So it never really does. All right. Well, thanks for tuning into this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can enjoy the sports betting content we provide on this channel. Jump right to your feed. Be back again tomorrow with more college basketball betting content. And until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.